So, you want to snipe, but what is best? What actually works? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down just that and reveal what I personally use, having tested this heavily on the PTS and on the live server, where there's a video already on the channel. I'm Dan, this is Unified Gaming, and we're just going to jump straight in. So first up, race-wise, you need to be a Dark Elf or a Khajiit to maximise your damage. If you're neither of these, an Orc or a Red Guard, or even a Wood Elf can work somewhat. A High Elf isn't a bad shout either, but personally you want a Dark Elf or a Khajiit for maximum damage. As for our attributes, you want to have all your points into stamina, you want to use the leather, and you want to be a vampire. The reason we are a vampire is really simple. We need access to the Darkstalker passive. This lets us move at full speed whilst in sneak, and we can get in sneak a bit quicker. You can go stage 2 for more damage, and stage 3 for better defense, which is really helpful, and that's my personal go-to, but you will have increased cost on your skills, so just do factor that in. Consumables wise, I'd recommend using Bewitched Sugar Skulls for CP, and Artane Integrate Broth for no CP. I personally use Bewitched Sugar Skulls for both because I'm happy with the sustain, but if you find sustain hard, do use Artane to just help that little bit. And you can use the purple equivalent as well. I would also recommend Tri-Stat Potions. This covers everything you need in PvP, or you could even go Essence of Movability for health and stamina, and gain CC immunity for 10 seconds. Really powerful. If you do get that, I would highly recommend that you go and get your alchemy up to level 50. This will make those buffs last a lot longer, and there is a guide already on the channel, so make sure you are subscribed and do check it out if you haven't already. As with the skills and what we actually use skill wise, well, it's pretty simple. For the skills, we are using Lethal Arrow, Relentless Focus, Camouflage Hunter, Shadowy Disguise, Poison Injection, and Toxic Barrage. All of these hit really hard, and we have extra damage from other sets to make them hit even harder. So this is a great setup. I would recommend changing Incapacitation Strike if you want more of a melee playstyle for Toxic Barrage, but you can go with Toxic Barrage for just almost a one-hit sort of guaranteed kill. It's a really good skill to use. On the bat bar, I use Leeching Strikes, Resolve and Vigor, Deep Thoughts, although this is a flex spot depending on the build you use, Race Against Time, Rally, and Temporal Guard. If you do change Deep Thoughts, or you don't have access to that, you can choose to use Mark Target if you want to have extra penetration, or I would recommend go down to the Shade and unlock that. That's a really good one to have, as you can teleport to it. Or if you really want to have more bulk and more defense, go to Support, go to Revealing Flare, slot this on the bar. This will give you major protection, making you tankier, and you can also get 10% Magicka regen as well for slotting that skill. You never have to use it, so it's a really good one to use. As for the ultimate on the back bar, I would recommend using Temporal Guard just for minor protection. It's extra damage reduction, and you can also get access to Concentrated Barrier, which is also nice as well. If you don't have the Sigic Order for some reason, you don't have access to that skill line, then I'd recommend using something like Soul Tether, which is the more for Soul Shred, that will heal you as well, and it's a good oh no button. As for the skills on the back bar, Leech and Strikes, Resolve and Vigor as we said, Deep Thoughts, we do use Race Against Time as this is a must in my opinion, for the movement speed and the critical damage, and there's nothing that gives you these buffs in one skill easily, and it also gives you Snare and immunity, which is really helpful. We then get Rally for extra healing and more damage, and we have Temporal Guard as we've said already. But these are the skills and what you can do with them. Now for the sets and the champion points. And before I do that, I'm just going to do a quick reminder that if you haven't subscribed already, I would highly suggest that you do so, as I have many more builds on the way, and I'd hate for you to miss out. But set wise, what are we using? Well, I'm actually using Way of the Fire. Way of the Fire is a really interesting set. What this does is when you are in combat and you do a damage with your weapon, whether it's a skill or a light attack, it will proc and do about 3,200 damage roughly on the tooltip, and that can happen every 2 seconds. This can happen from your skills and your light attacks, and for some reason it happens from poison injections dot as well. I don't know if that's intended or not, but that means that this becomes a dot set and a pseudo burst set in one, and is a really good set to help snipe, because you can get the damage on the combo, and when you come to then execute them, this is still ticking, helping you keep them low and helping you confirm those kills. I then use double dot poison to help with that even further, and this is really helpful. I pair this with the Vetishan Maul, as this gives you access to just free damage whilst momentum's up, and if you happen to heavy attack, you do get that burst around you. Although it's not there, it's mainly for the extra damage that's always on you most of the time. For the armour wise, I'm using Krag Helmet, Darlock Bray Jack, Pauldron of the Fire, Darlock Bray Belt, Darlock Bray Braces, Darlock Bray Guards, Darlock Bray Boots. All of my armour is in Divines and all stamina where possible, barring my shoulder because it came with health, but it doesn't make much difference. You can go tri-stat if you wish on the big pieces, the head, the chest and the legs, but they are really expensive and I don't want to spend that much money. Currently on PC EU they're about 70 to 80,000 for the prismatic glyphs, and I'm not paying that price. Jewellery wise, I use Necklace of the Fire and Ring of the Fire, and I use a mythic item, Ring of the Wild Hunt. This in my opinion is the best mythic for a Nightblade ganker, because it gives you the speed which helps with both killing and defence, more namely the latter. To be able to move around and get escape is really valuable on the Nightblade, so this is a great mythic to get if you haven't already. If you don't have access to any mythics at all for some reason, then you can drop this and keep fire for all of these, and you can change your monster set to a set of your choice. Things that work quite well are things like Celestrix for some, surprisingly, because it procs constantly with the poison injection, so it's just a way to have constant stuns and pressure on somebody. It's a really good one to use. Alternatively, you could go for extra burst on your ultimate with Balorg, or extra defense with like Bloodspawn. You could even use Falcon Scoria as well, as it does scale with offensive damage now, so that is quite good as too, but you need a lot more dots to make it work. This, in all honesty, is the best setup that I found for sniping, because it gives you the damage that you need whilst also having the sustain. Now you are probably going to be thinking though, but the damage is going to be really low and you're not going to kill people. And that is somewhat true, but you need to factor in that even with two pure damage builds, that I've tried things like Swamp Raider, Titanborn, Venomous Smite, I've tried Spriggans, Leviathan, Archer's Mind, Savara Scales, Mechanical Acuity. I've tried a lot of sets, and even with all of those ones, what I found was that when I was trying to kill somebody, if I couldn't kill them with the high damage setups, I couldn't kill them with this setup either. And likewise, if I could kill them with the high damage setup, I could kill them with this setup too, just because I could out-sustain and keep the pressure up, thanks to the Way of the Fire ticking constantly, and the double dot poisons are letting me just spam poison injection and light attack when they're really low, which really just helps get that kill. So I found this is the most consistent setup that you can use. But if you want to have more damage, as I said earlier, you can change Darlock Bray, and you have a few options. In my opinion, the most consistent from testing was Savara Scales. This is just a really nice dot, it's about 1,100 every second. Or you could choose to go and run Plague Break, which is another good one. And this is very similar to DPS, about 780 damage per second on the dot. But if people purge, you then get a big burst. So this can be quite good against group play, especially in Cyrodiil and in Imperial City. So Plague Break's really good for that. And Venomous Smite is a very similar to all of those, in that it's just an AoE dot, so that's a good option too. But personally, I would go with Savara Scales plus Way of the Fire. And should you wish to take this into champion points and into Cyrodiil, what I personally use is, in the blue ones, I use Deadly Aim, Ironclad, Master at Arms and Fighting Finesse. I find typically Ironclad is needed on most builds nowadays, but you can drop this for more damage if you wish. For the red ones, I use Celerity, I think it's pronounced, basically movement speed, really helpful. Bastion, just because we can damage shields easier, especially those sorcerers. Relentless, which is really good. And then we have Pain's Refuge. If you do use the Revealing Flare, then you can drop this for just a passive of your choice really. And on the green ones, it's up to you. But I go for all the speed where possible and sustain in shadows, just to make hard sustain even better while sneaking. You could then put on Rationer if you want for more just cheaper food costs really, that's it. But that's the CP. But that there is the sets and what I would use, and all of this, as you can see, has been tested heavily on the PTS. I've also gone through and tested it on live with all the gameplay in the background, and this is what works best for me. So I'd love to know what you think of it. What works best for you? Does it actually function how you want it to? Do you have any questions? Let me know down below and I'd love to hear. But I'm going to wrap this video up here because it is long enough as it is. So I'm going to say thanks for watching. I'm going to say a massive thank you to the Patreons. And if you haven't done so, make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out. But take care, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!